All right, you're live now.
All right. Assalamu alaikum. Damn, internet didn't want to work for us tonight. Had to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. How the Black Nation doing tonight? Pray all is well. And the most came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, the great Mahdi, who was to come and has come to restore we to our own kingdom of his love and to destroy those who have destroyed us. God, all we are the people. The murderers we serve and obey all the days of our lives. And we will teach our children to submit to thee, to that unequaled. And thanks to you, O Allah, for making manifest to us our enemy, the devil, the death of a Muslim. I bear witness no God but thee. I bear witness most honorable, humble Elijah Muhammad. Thank you for this gift of life. I pray you remove the heart of the devil from thee, as well as the Black nation. And that's what you will. Thank you for this day. And I pray that's an evil, sinful, wicked, accursed devil on the inside of us, as well as the one on the outside. Thank you, Allah, for this day. Thank you for this gift of life. People in America, anybody else on this planet, just listen. Beautiful time to be. Why you say that, Basheer? Because you're gonna see the original man come from the bottom to the top. And you know, Black man, you have to learn how to be more in accord with your nature. A lot of time in this country, in this environment, you have to kind of suppress your nature in a way. You know, according to my nature. And you know, sometimes brothers, you know, we was meant to rule. Up, Black man. You know, you wake up like when they show lion, he be laying in that tall grass, just kick back, relax. And sometimes, you know, ain't no other, none of the other pride around him. They just roar. Understand? You know, that's where the Black man is. I know a lot of y'all like that, but you don't roar a lot of times because you don't want to. People think something wrong with you or place fear or something wrong. Or sometimes, man, I'm gonna tell you, I wake up and I feel dangerous. Say that back. I wake up, I feel dangerous. Understand what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with that at all. This is part of your nature, Black. You know, they teach us all on the other parts, or teaching more now on the feminine side of the Black man. But what I'm trying to tell you, you got all of this in you. Understand? That's sleeping lion out their cage. You know, so there's nothing wrong with Black man. Some days you got those feelings. You walk a certain way. You all the way on point. some cases you step on your path in this particular day. Not the fact that you're out of control, but that energy level. Understand? We dangerous. Guys are dangerous as well in the righteous way is the key of a trap check. Understand? You know, and then I use the phrase take over time. If we put ourselves in that mindset, everything that we do is moving to the point of taking over. In all forms and fashion, of course. A lot of assessment has to take place on the way we're moving like everybody else. But we're the ones that's in a different position than anybody, so we cannot operate the same way. Secondly, from those that are not ready, that's not ready to move down this path of freedom. Just free. Well, you say, Basheer, I am American. Are you American? Well, I go with the phrase that Elijah Muhammad gave us. I'm a black. The big difference. Who are you, Basheer? I'm the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. I am a citizen of the whole damn planet. I am the God of the universe. Just called, so-called America. Understand what I'm saying? Some of you and die for America because you want to be a citizen. But I say this, all of that is fine and dandy. But I say, men, gods should want to be free. We do not have to look for a leader. Who is your leader, black man, black woman, black child? God himself. Connect back with your natural state of being. It's hot. 90% of the population on the planet is corrupt. We have to develop another mindset. Everything we do, we're doing it for a purpose and strategically, almost together, usefulness. If you're useful, help us build a nation, because a lot of brothers and sisters, all of them can serve a purpose. We got some Negroes and certain that we can use to get the job done. I heard brothers talking today. They say, well, the black man don't have no vision. That is true. But we must develop a vision for ourselves. And the reason you don't have no vision because we live in the vision of the Caucasian. You live in his dream. You understand? You have taken on all his aspirations and goals. You want your careers and high-paying jobs. You want your status. You want your recognition. But don't nobody want to be free. Control. The ability to make decisions. They say, well, one of the biggest foundation is sleep. Maybe that's true, but really I don't think that's true. This is the deal. Black man doesn't have the ability, he has the imagination to manifest who you got to go to. You got to go to your open enemy to get approval, finance, your imagination into a reality. I know thousands of brothers that got to manifest it. Because in this capitalist system, it takes finances, job done. You want to build something, then you got to go to some cases that don't look like us. So I say, black man, use your mind, use your mind. And what a lot telling us we have to pool our resources amongst ourselves. You know, my son, Keys, you know, he's getting ready to go on tour. Various places off to the south. You know, I am proud of him. I'm proud of all of them, all the brothers and sisters that's attached to this movement. All my family. You have Jack Heller Clashman, Brother Samai. We'll be going out on tour with his brother, Brother Ampu, Batia Muhammad. We'll be going on tour. Yusuf, he'll be coming back in, post up with his brother on the security level. Top there. That'll be going on tour. They're the ones that make sure everything is organized. They're the ones that make sure this thing gets done. And then the beauty of it is understand what I'm saying? But the key to me and the most beautiful thing is the knowledge. And our people, the keys that they need to open up these doors and go through them and pull ourselves up out of this state of dependence, of being dependent on someone else. See, when you get home baking and in-house financing, and we collaborate and pool our resources together and sit down amongst ourselves. This don't need to be public discussion on the way we can set up our own economic base. We can learn how to feed industry within a nation. We're a nation within a nation. The ability to develop a protocol amongst ourselves, and let's move forward. Understand what I'm saying? Look at all the mistakes, all the confusion, all the chaos, and all the spiritual death in the white nation, the jealous and envy, fearful, and fear and God do not exist in the same place. Black folks throw out fear, take over Team Keys, put out a call. I watch him on this podcast, and he said, you know, brother, say all the time, when y'all gonna do this? But brother, when you gonna help? You understand? It's a EYL, 19 keys. That's a good formation. It's a step forward. Pitch in. How can we make it happen should be the question. When you all should rampage, you all should be asking, how can I participate? Usefulness determines one's value. How can I aid and assist? This is all we really should be thinking about. You got men and women out in front of you now that sincerely committed. People got their own damn life to live. You understand? Well, the brother sitting in, you understand? No one's there to give you that boost. You understand what I'm saying? Understand? That's the same thing they did with Jesus. They loved him more after he was dead. You know what I'm saying? But the people weren't there to help him to get across that river. It's a brand new day, a whole new world order that needs to take place. And the key for us, we have to go inside ourselves and kill the devil. Word, understand? The word alone will kill the devil. On the inside, learn the truth, kill falsehood, bring in discipline, self-control to living black people. Understand what I'm saying? But I'm not going to talk with you too long tonight, because what I wanted to do, I wanted to read you a little bit out of my book. Real been pushing me to write this book for some time. And you know, everything happening. It's not even complete, or it could be complete, depends on how I want to use this first part. Understand? Because hell, I got a whole incomplete life, black folks. Understand what I'm saying? And travel a path. But this path, when you look back on life, and you look at 4 parents, and you look at yourself, certain type of mindset that I have, where it come from. How did I decide to recognize the truth when I hear it? Where did I get the strength from? Come. Where did I get the heart? Understand? At the same time, you got that balance that if need be, you can be dangerous, understand? And you can also be very forgiving, even to your so-called, about my own people. When we clash, understand what I'm saying? And the time that we have had the devil, we get him before you forgive your brother or your sister. That's so I wrote this tight, none of that. Put it this way. I have not named it. And I want to give you just a little history on some of my challenges, some of the things and challenges I had to face coming up in life, some of the decisions I had to overcome. But this way, this is going to be a treat for you tonight, black folks. Understand? And then I'm going to start this out like this. This black woman asked, she said, you know, when she was talking to me, I was standing. She said, you know, an elderly black woman asked, she said, you know, I want to ask God a question. And this was while I at Walgreens. She was the cashier, and I had spoken to her previously about a month and a half before as I was checking out. Are you Muslim? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, you know, my uncle is Muslim. But I said, yes, ma'am, and left out. I returned to Walgreens a month later, and at this time she said, I want to ask God a question. Why do black people have to suffer so much? Then she said it again. Well, she looked at me and said it again. Why do black people have to suffer so much? I looked at her and said, you know, I know the answer, but I couldn't just answer that question in a few words. There were other people in line. I really know the answer to the question. She wanted to ask God himself. Now I'm going to tell you my story, how I become to know the answer to her question. Popkeys. It said, once upon a time, one was born in 1952 in a small town on the Mississippi River called Alton, Illinois. This is my home. The home of the great Lincoln and Douglas debate. This is where that crackers used to sell slaves and stuff. Home of the press. A home to the first state penitentiary. This is where they built the first state penitentiary in the state, and there by the river, the big old white block bricks. The cornerstone still home of Robert Watlow, considered to be the tallest man on earth once upon a time. Home of the petrified man, what they say. Born on September 17, 1952 at St. Joseph's Hospital. I came to the earth. I grew up on 731 Market Street, right behind the factory called Dunn Hit It. It was a factory. And the town I grew up in had a lot of factories. It was a factory town. in these factories. That's when in them days they didn't have an ocean and none of that type of stuff. My grandfather worked in the lead works. That stuff. And then the old folks sat out on the porch while we as children ran and played up and down trees, going to the woods, eating clay dirt, picking blackberries, scouting, hiding, seeking, going to the sand pits, seeing how far we could jump from the hills out into the sand pits. We was free. Backyard was thick. Going to Douglas School, swinging, playing softball, corkball, eating fresh apples and pears, eating on some good grapes from the vines. Fruit grew all over. I lay with our mom, go down to the riverfront and watch. Four white folks lived on the river in boathouses. Their house was on stilts. When the river rose out, we made our own go-karts, wagons, sip guns, learned how to shoot gun, usually with a 22 pistol or a 22 caliber rifle. We go to the country. We need youngsters to learn how to box. They have a boxing ring set up in the backyard. We put the sometimes they got their kicks, they practiced in on us. I remember Butch was teaching me one day boxing skill, much older and bigger. He was having a good time at it, throwing combos and study laughing. But I didn't quit. We were into the sports, track and field, baseball, softball, basketball, wrestling. I was pretty good at wrestling. I learned how to. We were innovative. We built our own baseball field. We cut our own field out. Rules, pole, vault, broad jump, 50-yard, 100-yard dash, 220-yard dash, and 440-yard dashes. All the neighborhoods from all sides of town would come to compete, just like a regular meet. Boys and girls, we get down. Understand what I'm saying? I grew up. We had a downtown that was my side, was my set. North on each different sides of town. We competed even in football. Some of those same brothers went on to become state champs. And your dash and the 400, the 440. Some set state records, state meet records, state champs. My big brother was a state champ, set the state record at 48.9 in the 440, went to the national, took a national champ, and dominated the Drake relays when blacks weren't even allowed to compete. But when the doors came open, it was a wrap. Jim Hines, who set the world record in the 100-yard dash, attended Texas Southern University. The record at that time in the world was 9.9. He went to play for the Dallas Cowboys. Another brother named was a high 7.2, 7.3 in the high jump. The relay team set national records all over the country. Going back a bit, I remember the old folks used to sit around at night in the backyard and ghost stories. Sometimes about people who practice hoodoo, slavery stories, weird children weren't allowed to be up under. When they gathered, we had to go and play. I remember one night in particular, while my grandma and grandpa were outside around the fire with the neighbors. My grandfather would hide his old granddad in the whiskey. You'd have to climb up on the counter and reach up to the top of the counter and drunk the granddad past half a pint of the old granddad. But before I got dizzy as hell, sick. I made my way back down to the house, back to the fire. It looked like the fire was moving in a circle. I started to, all the others started looking at me. And somebody said, "That boy's drunk." Grandpa said, Grandpa went into the house, into the kitchen, took a look. I done knocked off half the bottle. He didn't whoop me. He was right. I was sick for 2 days. My father was a good man. He was built like a mandingo, tall, bald-headed, long legs, fully cut, strong. We would walk. He said, "Come on, go with me. We'll go to the Rock Springs Park, searching for herbs, picking poke salad. You see other elderly black men walking. As medicine in those days, black people didn't run to the doctor for everything. I remember when I had the mumps, old jaw, boiled it, mixed some herbs in it, and made a tea, and gave it to us. Same thing with the measles. Grandma, known as Nanny, mixed a salve using herbs, made a salve. The measles bumps, it worked. I had a good childhood. I remember the time I got my hand caught in the wringer in the washing machine, wash clothes in the backyard. Set up clotheslines, pour water into the washing machine in the automatic wringer. Slide the clothes in between those two rolling pins as they move to squeeze the water out. Being curious as a kid, I put my hand in between those pins and got my hand caught in between it, but it was automatic hand on the side. Nanny heard me screaming. That's my grandmother. Came out the back door, cut the machine off, pulled the handle, didn't have to worry about me and that machine anymore. Lesson learned. I used to be a peaceful child, so I didn't know a lot about being violent. Doing a lot of fighting, but I had a next door neighbor. He come messing with a brother. I'm about 6 or 7 maybe. This particular day, we was in the backyard playing. He hit me. I go to the house crying. I get to the back door. I'm standing in the door. Boy, what's wrong with that? That's what I did, with one exception. People used to spit wood in the yard, wood and coal burning stove, cast iron, potbelly stove. They chop wood with an axe. So when I got back, I picked up the axe, Archie, in the middle of his forehead. Miss Cora came out the house. That's Archie's mother. Mom came out, all the neighbors, they asked, what happened to you, boy? I said, shit to myself. This don't look too good. I used to cuss a lot when I was a child. I thought I was doing something. The old folks sitting in the front porch watching us play. They used to say, that boy sure can cuss. Hell, I thought I was doing something. Miss Cora got to arguing. She said, well, hell, he always picking on Junior. That's what they called when I was a child. So Miss Cora called the police. Police showed up, asked what happened, wrote a report, and left. Archie came home on that. Came home later that year, about 7 or 8 stitches. But I never had a problem with Archie again. But we became friends. By about 4 or 5 brothers. I ain't nothing but a shorty. I'm about 10 or 11. Football field. It was a real football field. It wasn't a real football field, neighborhood field. We played football on it. It had with the incline fence. Defense had a slight advantage. They could tackle you from a downhill advantage. They decided to jump me. And the reason being, I was not a follower and an independent. They'd ride around on big old bikes with green berets, calling themselves green berets. I wasn't interested in running around town, bikes, the big old balloon tires, calling myself a gang. They didn't like that. On the field, even a couple of my partners, old Peach, he's the gator, throw the first punch. They bust me up a little bit, but I walked away pissed. Black. Now I got a black eye. Got to lay low for a minute. I didn't want everybody in town to see my black eye. Grandpa says, he says, son, come on, boy. Let's take a walk to the store. That's the way respect, to always respect my elders, about having morals and values. We were in the house. One day he said, come here. I'm going to show you how to squeeze water out of a rock. So he said, go get a rock. I got the rock, gave it to him. He said, watch this. He took the rock, put it in his hand, and squeezed. I said, do it again. And he did it again. And water came out the rock again. I'm a little baffled now because I know water ain't supposed to come out of the rock. Let me show you something. He said, all appearances are deceptive. Then he opened up his hand, his left hand, and he had a wet sponge in it. He was teaching me on the art of tricknology. Now, getting back to the story at hand. From the store, he bought a little snack as we crossed the railroad tracks, headed back up the hill to the house. You know what you got to do? He said, you know what you got to do, son? Wait until your eye goes down. I said, yes, sir. Sounded like a plan to me. And after my eye went down, the first one I caught up with was Philip. He was standing on the hill right above from the house. I didn't say anything, nothing. I just whooped his butt. One down, Kurt. He hadn't been too long, moved up from Mississippi and going to jump on me. He was bigger. Two, didn't matter. Two down, two to go. The next week, I caught up with Jimmy. Now, he wasn't supposed to be, stayed on the same damn street. Caught him in the backyard of Gregory and Jean's house. They were older brothers, played boxing ring in the backyard. Jimmy was there, and they knew what I was there for. About 40,000. They looked at me and said, y'all get in the ring, put on the gloves. That's what we did. Toe to toe. We battled pretty good, but I got it. The only one I didn't get was Peach. He got away somehow. He's a deacon now in the church now, but I never forgot about him. Never seen him again. About him. The one that got away. I still might get him. Never know. Understand what I'm saying? Now, brother, I had to touch up Philip. I had to save his life. We'd always go down to the river to take dip, the Mississippi River. Chuck and I floated out on the log from shore. There was an outlet that extended out into the river. So Philip walked out on it and jumped in and swam over to the log. Dog paddle anyway. He couldn't swim that good. When he made it to the log, Chuck said, man, we're in a drop off. Philip panicked and started to swim back even more. Then it went under the water. I said to myself, damn. I looked at Tuck to see if he was going to make a move. He wasn't. So I couldn't just let him drown. So I dove under the water. I saw him. I swam to him and grabbed him. He grabbed me somehow. He ended up on my shoulders, and he wrapped his legs around my neck as well. We sinking deeper, both of us. I looked down and I could see them. And he locked and he looked and he looked. Let me look at that. Locked on me even harder. His eyes were bulging from his head. I said, not today. I'm not drowning. You're on your own. I took me and swam back to the surface, back to the log. Tuck hadn't moved. He had this grave look of, I grabbed the log, I grabbed hold to the log, got my breath. I looked at Tuck, he looked at Philip, nowhere in sight, still under the water. Then all of a sudden, he popped up, thrashing in it. He had popped up close to the log. I reached out and grabbed him and pulled him in. We paddled back to Philip, wasn't no more than about 15, 16, I don't know. He was going in a super big charger. Ran into the bridge. He was highly talented, charismatic. Died at an early another encounter with that river. We used to go fishing with our mother on the river. Sometimes she sit on the river bank. This particular day, Charlene, which is my little sister, came with us. It had rained the night before, so the riverbank, Charlene came over the bank's edge just to look at the water. But as she stepped to the bank, she's a little girl. She panicking, could see it in her eye, but she was struggling and grabbed her hand before she got pulled away by the river's current. Encounter with life. I lived in Oakland, California, and I'm jumping up a little bit. I managed an apartment complex. It was like New Jack City before we took it over. I knew this sister that stayed next door in a high rise. She was gay, but we just talked about life. She was my friend. She talked about her life, her affairs, so on with me. Anyway, one day I get a knock on my office door. It was the police. They needed my help. This young lady was threatening suicide. She was going to jump off the building's ledge. I immediately went to her apartment building, police. She was about, I say, 6 stories up, standing on the ledge. She had asked for Basheer. Police standing nearby. They didn't want to get close. They were afraid she would jump. She was crying, saying, "I can't take it anymore." She was despondent and didn't want to live anymore. She was in love. Looked at me and I told her, "You're going to be all right. Everything passes with time." "You're going to be just fine, sister. Come on down from there." And she took my hand and stepped down. And she cried like a big hug, and they took her away to the hospital to do an evaluation. Now, getting back to where I was, working with your Black Muslim bakery, managing at 31 Union apartment complex 3 stories up. But we took it over from the drug dealers. Brand new building, brand new, all apartments new. We had to have a gate open in the back, was extending to the other side of the block. At a gate that was locked, but Miss Chinese lady, the building wasn't no more than 2.5, maybe 3 years old when we came in and took it over. And but they had turned it into, that's another part of the story that I got to get to a little later. You can't get that right now. Now, I'm going to tell you how I met my best friend. I was at the time, and one day in particular, my little sister Janice had an encounter with Lois on the playground, going back to, I'm just watching. When a little brother come, Willie, which also will become a good friend of mine, and the soldier in the field. Anyway, he jumped in. They're arguing. At this point, I had to intervene. So we got into it. He was an so the next day after school, Bobby, his big brother, came to school to confront me. We're around the same age. He confronted me about his brother. And I told him, man, you know, your brother hit, and he should have hit out of the girl. Oh, blows had been thrown, and I wasn't going to let him hit my sister. He was wrong because Bobby and I had faith up, and he thought and said, "You're right." We shook hands, became best of friends. That was best of friends. The best friend I ever had in life, besides Brother Nador. I go to that. He had that soldier in him. Athletic, smart, good thinker, charismatic, could sing, dance, ladies liked him, and he was loyal. A lot of times, ladies that like me would go to him. I remember the time we got tested by a former girlfriend. Her name was Debbie. Pretty and sexy, my first love, but we had broken up. But she still kept trying to hook back up with me to no avail. So she decided to get back at me. She tried to get with Bobby, my best friend, but we had a code. We never messed with each other's woman. She had to bring hostility and enmity between us. She said, I'll get him. I'll get his. They were trying to get with me. I told him, tell her to meet you at such and such place at such and such time. She showed up. We both were standing together. And she came. And we were both a damn fool. What that did was that everybody know we tight. Moving right along. We were compatible mentally. We were good plan 3 to 4 months ahead of time before executing it, highly organized. We shared, we looked out and protected on one another family. One of us was out of town. We did a patrol late at night, ride through, make sure everything was good. If someone in the family needed money, they could come and get it. We go shopping in the city. If either one of us was sure or didn't have a problem, we were free to express our true thoughts to each other. This is so important. Except Bobby would be on the block drinking beer at that time. I would tell him, man, you need to slow down. Of course, he would get mad at me and he'd tell me to mind my own business and to stay the hell out of his. Business. It was heated. And here come his little brother, Willie, dipping in our business, trying to side with his brother. And we would immediately stop arguing, and Bobby would tell him, man, stay the hell out of our business. And we go right back at it. After we finish, we were right back on the square with each feelings. We were brothers. Tough love. Understood. We stayed at nice hats. I remember one time we put a mind move on the brothers on the other side of town. It was called Mexico. The man in sight. That was just the name of it. But anyway, we had come up with a plan to promote the show. And the Barcade, they were the top groups at that time. we put the plan together in early July into the college. It was a community college. Become the president of the Black Student Union. We knew they had the entertainment. Student union president had the sway over how to spend that money. Bobby resident in August became the president of the union. He was voted in. That was the first move. Second move was, who could we and be someone people wanted to see? So mind you, I wasn't attending the school for October. Our promotion, we promoted all the radio stations. It was on. Stay behind the promotion. We got word that the brother from Mexico was grumbling. We didn't want it to get messed up. Bobby and I were eating amongst ourselves. We had to figure out how to handle this. Our solution was to have Bobby to go over and offer the brothers a slice of the pie. Our money was going to come from the ticket sales, keep 5 and make another 10 to 12 at the door, and do the after party at the Civic Center. We told the brother they could have the sale at the door from the after party. They agreed, but they had to pay the DJ. We took the concession stand because of all the food and drinks. They agreed. We made more money at the concession stand selling drinks, but it was too late. They tried to balk at paying the DJ, but they had to. That was the money that flew to LA and put together a deal. He was a good brother. Never to be forgotten. Must leave my brother Bobby. Very, 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 very good friend. They're very, very life, real friends. He got showed up with. He was set up to show what type of brother he was. This part of the story I haven't gotten to yet. Government had informers on their payroll and killers. They brought in from out of state to sell, but he got shot in the crap house. When they came in the basement and started shooting, my nephew, Pug, was about 14, maybe. He had flew in from Fontana, California on a summer visit. He came in shooting, but Bobby could have taken cover, but instead he put Pug and protect him and took a bullet. He died a few weeks later from gunshot wounds. A true brother, good friend to the end. That's the way we pray due to Allah. Or I can tell you about the time we jumped off on the police. This is the reason they had to jump off and try to assassinate Bobby. See, we had moved out a town that was in danger. Well, let me get to this part of the story, though. Or I can tell you about the time we jumped off on the police and the very racist, brutal, and corrupt. So was city government. They only had 2 black police officers. Only was Reverend Connors and Detective Conrad. Straight tongue. Detective Conrad on people, men and women, young and old. So one day, I have a brother named Dupree. He's about 13 years of age. Beat him up. My big brother was on the block, just returned from summer break from Texas. He held a state record, a leader, and highly respected amongst the street soldiers. So he stopped the police. Maurice Pittman, they called him Mo. He told the police, not today. They police officer. We knew they would be back that night, so we called a meeting. So a meeting was called. Met in the basement. We knew if something jumped off, the first thing they would do was come for the leadership. We just won east side of town, commanded their territory, North Alton, Mexico, up Alton and downtown. Our area, everybody on board. We divided the town into sections. You move teams. We hit the substations, the power grids, put out the lights. We used the woods, bush. We took the high ground. We made Molotov cocktails, used anarchist book, used gunpowder, shotgun pellets, metal soap, and rifle, shotgun, pistol, 45, 9mm in those days, 30. True story, black folks, it's all documented. See, the beauty of this, it's all documented history. Understand the war. We firebombed the substation, put the lights out, made the call to the police. There were disturbances in Mexico on Highland Ave. It was a long street with trees and bushes all along the road. Brothers set up a crossfire. The police came rolling down Highland Ave. That was deep. They got lit up from both sides. Guerrilla style. Texas. To the high ground. Police come rolling down Bell Street. Police get fired on. Brothers faded back into the dark and hit the trail going through the woods. It was on. My team went out on the bell line. Furnished, brand new, $3.5 million store. Set to have its grand opening. We pulled up, got out, showcase window, lit our 5 balls and tossed them inside. And watched as those shotgun pellets roll across the fire. The building lit up and it was a done deal. We left. Next on our list, because it was a racist school system. We burned it to the ground. Gunfire. Rung out all over the night belonged to us, and everybody was willing to die. But we're fighting for what we believe in: freedom and justice. And against discrimination. Every night, this went on for the whole summer, all up to the fall and smoke. Side, downtown shopping area. We shut it down with the men and with the young people and the women. We're going to hit another target day and night. It had gotten good to us. The police were afraid. We got pulled over. It was 3 of us, they searched the car, didn't find anything. But they could smell the smell of gasoline in the car. It was in our clothes. We got booked and charged with arson. Tommy broke down after a while and snitched. I was sent to the county jail at 18. Bail. Tommy was sent to the pen. Now I'm still fighting my case on the streets. I had a black attorney named John Welch, highly known and respected. We learned Tommy had gotten turned out in prison. He had been down for about on the stand. This was at my preliminary hearing because he had come back to testify on it at the preliminary hearing. Testified against me. Was broken down. He cried on the stand. The case put on docket call, where all I had to do was show up every month in front of the judge. That went on for almost a year. One day, went to office and said, the case has been dismissed. This is how you know a lot of witches, man. And the stenographer had died. Think on that. Allah was with me. I mean, it's with records of this testimony, no longer existed. Understand? The transcript somehow disappeared. The stenographer took the notes. She had got sick and died. Understand what I'm saying? So they dropped the case. Understand what I'm saying? I'm a free man. Man, I got many stories. They all true. I'm gonna tell you about the time we had a fight with the police. That's when I got charged with 2 counts of aggravated battery during the same time period. On the police, this is when the turmoil taking place with the police. I had just come home, took a bath, changed clothes, got clean. I got a call, other traffic being jammed up by the police in Mexico. I called Chucky and Willie to come to get me, and we went to check on traffic. He hopped in the car and we headed back across town, and the police got in behind us. Travis turned around. Let me catch it with myself. They jumped in the car off town. They jumped in behind us. Travis turned around in his seat and threw the finger to the police. They hit the lights. I told Travis to keep going. Don't stop until we get to my brother's house. So we pulled up in front of the house. Sirens. They done cut us off. We got out the car. Travis took off running up my brother's driveway. I moved around to 3 police officers get out. Officer Brent pulled the gun, put it up under my chin. Brent pushed me back on the hood of the car. Now I'm facing him. He still had the gun. My feet came off the ground. At that time, I felt like something. I had no power. I had no leverage. But at that time, bruh exited the house and said in a loud voice, "What the hell going on?" Still blasting. But he had drawn their attention away from me. All 3 of us went into the hedges. I came out first with Officer Britt's bag. See Chucky fighting, Willie fighting. Willie wouldn't Willie would get shooting at the police. I saw Travis getting his head busted by the police. But the saying goes, he who fears for his life shall surely lose it. We fought hard to steal. The officer begged me to tell the brothers to get into the car. I looked around. Everybody was good. The car. They took us down to the station. When they got us down to the station, they trapped in the cell. That was the time when black people really stuck together. Damn near the whole town showed at the station, surrounded it. Listen, they broke into the police station and started fighting. Newspaper clippings of the people trying to pull the police and him holding on to the door, but dear life. So the chief wanted to get us out of there. They took us out the back door, down the stairs to the garage area. So they took us back up to the cells. People didn't learn the scene, including the attorney. So at about 10:30 that night, they called in Judge Greenwood to come to the jail. They took us out that night to the courtroom. Shoulder to shoulder, long sticks, long shields with hammers, vests, and ties. They were afraid. We went into Judge Greenwood's courtroom and he gave us kind of walked out the jail that night to a jubilant crowd of black people that showed the power of the people. All praise is due to Allah. These are true stories. This is what I lived. A lot of stuff I can't put in a book. But anyway, moving right along. I'll give you the ending of this story. I eventually went to trial. Everyone else got probation, so I took it to trial. There was too much publicity. It was all over the press. White people were in an uproar. Government officials, politicians, and the powers didn't get a fair trial, so I took a bench trial. The bench trial is where there's no jury. The judge hears the evidence and makes the evidence presented. Judge Mosley was a reciting judge. Staunch conservative on my behalf, but I wasn't rolling over. They attacked us. I was charged with 2 counts of aggravated battery when I was sold it up. The trial began. The DA presented his case to the police to testify under oath. I knew I was in trouble when I presented my case. Sam Parker was my first witness. He lived on the street where the incident took place. The first people to cut the house that day. He testified to the contrary as to what happened that day. Judge Mosley got mad at Mr. Parker. Of course, he was a brother and started to holler at him in open court. I know for sure. The case didn't take long to wrap up, of course. The judge found me guilty. So I asked the judge to give me 30 days to get my affairs in order before they took me into custody. He agreed. I had no intentions of coming back to be sentenced up under that rate. I said, catch me if you can. Well, eventually they called up with me at the Marriott Hotel. I just stayed a little too long. Young brother, dressed good, looking at Porter. Made me look suspicious to white folks. I was on Clayton County Jail, but they still had to extradite me, and I damn sure without knowing what I was facing. That was my leverage. I had 120 days at least to fight extradition, or they couldn't negotiate. I needed to know how much time I was facing. So we negotiated a deal that I received a 1 to 3 year sentence. Check it out. Then my months, I'm out. I took the deal, put it in black and white. Meaning put it on paper. What I want to tell you is the day I took that long ride to prison at 19 years of age. Never will forget it. Never will. Look, I felt like a slave on that bus riding down the winding country roads with the beautiful blue sky country, shackled like a slave on roots. I felt like Kunta Kinte. My hands were shackled with a chain around my ankles, had a strap around my waist, both wrists handcuffed with a chain running from my hands to my feet. Sometimes you could say blood. All redneck crackers for real. We finally pulled up to the Menard Penitentiary, built along the Mississippi River, old building with gun towers and barbed wire fences. And they were taking me to soldier in, soldier out. Well, you know, they put you in a reception for about 2 weeks. We put it to a cell, general population. You're pretty much in there with the people you come down on the bus with. But you get to go to the yard with the general population. Menard was called Gladiator School. On the second day, I was able to go to the yard. The Aryan Nation, the Latin King, the Gangster Disciple, the Rookin, the Blackstone, the Vice Lord, the Metro Gangsters, the Metro, the Ghost, etc. But I wasn't affiliated, so I walked the yard by myself. Coach, you would ask you who you with. I told them I represented myself. They moved on. I know I was going. So I saw on the basketball court, that's where they were roughhouse at. Sometimes some of the lieutenants and chiefs were on the court, airborne, dirty, called dirty. Some of them called Shade and Clever, Ram, Thunder. chief of the Blackstone Nation. So I called the game, picked my team, hit the court. I could ball. I knew they were going to test me. The push up, very confrontation. I pushed right back on them. Don't give a damn who you are. I got my respect. I had no fear. A lot of brothers I came in with locked up, went to protect the custody. I'm just a young man. So yeah. After I went to the barbershop one day to get my hair cut. I knew the main barber, he was from my hometown in Oakland. He was in on a murder. When it came time for me to get my cut, another brother walked in, took my spot, and sat down. I didn't know at the time, nor did I care. My turn. You got to get up. Everybody looking. You could hear a pin drop. They said he was just a man like me. Hell, I was dangerous on the streets, and nothing had changed. So what happened? Another barber offered me a chair to me. I got my hair cut. You crazy. But he wasn't no damn good. Every prison stuff ain't like it is on TV. Some of it is. On the bus. They were locked down the prisoners. And he would be standing at the bus with the warden pointing out the two soldiers to the warden so they could lock them brothers up in deep segregation. These were the never heard or saw them brothers again. Behind a big giant steel door or wall. The nigga was a snitch as well. Plus he had young brothers getting ready to go home and would send them on hits on the yard. Very dangerous. You could get shot. But at the same time, they had tried at Memorial. Then they had at Minority what they called the goon squad. This inmates. They did the dirty work for the warden. Assault inmates. The Chicago area. They stopped the goon squad though, cause them guys in prison you learn a lot about the nature of men. One particular thing was white men were homosexuals. Let me read this. Was white men were homosexual by nature. And I would say to myself, how are they ruling us? And they were a punk. And the reason I say that is in prison, all the gays came in, they would take turns on who gets to exploit the new fish. White boys were coming into the 2 to 3 times a week. We used to have to sometimes use our toilet to bathe in. If we came in from the yard, from work or out. That's one reason it was called Gladiator School. Anyways, every time it became shower time, the new white boys would go to the shower, depending on what gang had that week. It was game. You would think a man would fight for his manhood. Roll over, in other words, bent over without a fight, like it was a natural. I said, damn, how in the hell they manhood? Lesson learned. Only two organizations in there that did not play that or allow anyone to mess with were the Latin Kings and the El Rookers. They gonna come for you. I knew that. He and Willie, my friend, were real tight, even up to this day. Stop someone from robbing an old lady, someone to snatch their purse, and he stopped the purse. They charged. Listen, the Latin King worked with the El Rookers. They taught the El Rookers Spanish inside the walls. El Rookers were up under Jeff Fort. And I knew that the white man, I know it. When I was on the streets, but in prison, unrestricted years. There was a brother called Vampire. He didn't conform to the rule. They rushed into his cell, put him in a straitjacket, and shackled his feet, drug him down 10 tears, at least the last step, he was dead. He never had a visit or made a phone call. They buried him on what we call Boot Hill. That's what it was called. You could look out. The East House, white crosses, and the cow grazing. They knew they could get away with it. The devil was unchained. Listen, now but he was free. He was locked up. He came in at 17. He was from Jamaica. He didn't do it. He was a free man, but he had nowhere to go. Prison life was all he knew. He died in prison. Think on that. The plight of the black man in America. Listen. Teaching English, reading and writing and math. That's while I was in jail. You had some brilliant minded brothers in prison from Chicago on murder, drug charges, highly organized, but couldn't read or write. Plight of the black man in America. I got my security status reduced to where I could go to the phone. That meant not behind the wall. I'm on the outside. And I could go and I could get a pass. I had in and out access. Long story short, I got word. There was going to be a drop off on the road. This brother was supposed to pick it up. He was a governor, meaning an old gay guy. For gang members, man, for the Peace Stone Nation. He was to get the package and pass it along at the prison. But I knocked it. I beat him to the drop. Now I got a whole quarter He signed to my partner, Janelle. He was the barber. So one day, I was working at the filtration pumps. It was right by the prison gate. A brother came out the gate. He was going to have your head. And now, you know, Thunder, he the head of the piece on there. He the chief. I kept moving. Later, I saw him again. He said it again as he came out from behind the walls. Mind you, I'm Basheer, more emphasis on it this time. Thunder said, he's going to have your head. That got my attention. Immediately, Thunder, the chief of the Peace Stone Nation. So immediately I went, got a pass to go inside toward the barber shop. I saw Thunder. He was leaning over a rail, and he raised up. I said, I hear you looking for me. And about that time, here come. They said, hey, Thunder, there he is, pointing at me. Then Thunder said, I hear you. I said, yeah, I do. But you know how the game goes. Y'all slip. And he looked at me and told the soldier, go head on. He, you know, I would have showed weakness and would have said, I return it, I would have been in trouble. You dig? Nice fro, neatly trimmed, beard, top shape. And then, the moral of the story is, stay true to the game. Allah, wow. I met a lot of good men in prison, highly intelligent, brilliant mind. Some of our best are in prison. The forgotten ones. One more. I won't take too much of your time. On the floor, we had a dorm. Slept on bunks to get my bunk. There was this long-haired, feminine-looking cracker sitting on my bunk. What are you doing sitting on my bed? So now here comes this brother to the white boy's aid. Well, he was pretty good size, brother. I say maybe about 250, 260. I ain't about maybe 180, 185. So he went on downstairs to the TV room. I thought about it. The more I was gonna try to get at me over this pump. So I put on my gloves. I had a pair of black leather gloves. Those were my day room, past the guard station. He was sitting in the front row watching TV. Bear hug on him, picked him up out of his seat and threw him on the floor and stood over him with him after that. You've got to have heart. I know he didn't have energy in, soldier out. Just 19 years old. Allah Akbar. What I would like to say, prison is designed to destroy you. It's a black people. It puts you in a system of killers, pedophilia, narcissists, rapists, sick, savage-minded people run by devils where you become a number. I still remember the number. The time becomes your enemy. Some people break, and some are broken by other men. On the other side of this, there's a lot of gods in prison, and you'll always meet one. You must know how to and power and believe in yourself and never fear and be willing to never fear no one but Allah. Long live Muhammad. The last case I gave back, beat it on appeal, but I had did the time at all. But I had a target on my back for standing up for freedom, justice, and equality. If I could do it all over, I wouldn't change. I'm going to give you a little bit of this second case. It was a gun charge. Gave me that case. But before that case, I picked up a gun charge because I refused to throw my gun away when the police rolled down on me. That's how it went down. This is how it went down. They brought men in to kill us. The powers that be, the city officials, because we stood up. They had to open the city up, drop their discriminating blacks on the police force. The Justice Department came in and forced the city, the fire department, the Auto Telegraph, the media, and all the stores, the retail stores, etc., to hire black people. Condition, but we broke it open. Brothers and sisters came into positions in law enforcement, couldn't stand it, so they hated us. Matter of fact, they got a black police fire chief today. And they were ruthless drug dealers as well, taking over people's homes, houses, turning women out. They had never used drugs before because they were attracted to this shiny thing. They would go on, they would get them on drugs and get them strung out and make them, once they tried up a trap that night. After that night after that night, we decided we had enough. Tapped up, we're going to take them all out. We knew where they were. We rode up to Alton Acres, 4 deep. Police sitting in front of the house. Cause we wasn't doing no drive-by. We were going to the front in case we had to keep moving. Police jumped behind us. We shook them. We pulled up to with the weapons before they could catch up with us. We drove off. We didn't see the police, so I told Reggie them and to pick the brother up. As we were about to do that, he come up on a cover. He didn't see them. He kept moving, but he was headed toward us. I told Reggie to pull over in front of it. They were outside in the yard, but I was strapped and I wasn't about to throw my gun. I got out the car. Reggie kept going. Now it's just me and the police. Get out slowly. I'm looking at him. I'm watching his eyes to see if he had that killer. He was kind of young, and he looking. No, he didn't come to kill. I told him I'm strapped. I raised the front of my shirt to show my peace. But one thing I knew was the law from study. When I revealed to him I was strapped and showed him a concealed weapon, it becomes a misdemeanor, as opposed to him searching me and finding it. But nonetheless, they charged me with a felony, like I say. I made bond and had got word out my mother's house. She had moved out. My whole family had to be moved out. I got the word, and we went to, and so I went to shut it down. I went in, put my jacket, hung it in the downstairs closet, and went upstairs to the bedroom. Told Bo Woolley that was his name. He had to vacate. Someone opened the door downstairs. It was the police. They come in. I go down. Goes upstairs. I told him I'm fixing to shut my mother's house down. They bring Bo Woolley that arrested me for trespassing. I told him my jacket was in the closet. Could I get it out? And then let me get my jacket. It was a weekend, so I had to spend the weekend until Monday. Monday came around. I didn't have any drugs. They set me up. I had already, before that, I had hired an attorney to fight the gun charge. They were in jail. They picked up my brother, his wife, Shirley, and Woolley for shooting at the police. We locked up in Upper. It's where I sat for 8 months, fighting my case along with my brother and friend, Woolley, along with Shirley. My brother's wife was and is a straight soldier to this day. My paid attorney, I paid attorney I had to fire off at the time. There was no one helping us on the streets. All family had been moved out of the state. It was too dangerous. We eventually got Shirley bonded out. With no money and no resource, we went into the law books to study the case law, procedures, and how to file motions before the court. We went to work. Bro and I filed a motion to get a state attorney appointed to our case. They were better than public defenders. So my brother Woolley and I all same time, jury trials, mind you, on the same floor. I was appointed attorney Ralph on the first day of the jury selection. We were sitting in the courtroom, getting ready to select the jury, and people had been in the military, and he looked at me, and I guess he thought, this ain't no dumb Negro. I wanted people that had experience with guns. We went through the whole process of it, what evidence that's to be allowed in, etc. I had in a mostly white county on a gun charge. And we were considered enemies to effect change. The trial lasted 3 days. I was acquitted. But this trial, they brought us out the courthouse together. We walked out the front door to a throw guilty. We threw the Black Power sign up and was taken back to the county jail. Williams to fight next. I sat in the county jail overnight. Would be rigged if I took another jury trial. Mr. Mendelson developed a strategy for me to plead no contest, and we put the case on appeal. The deal, I spent 6 months behind prison wall. Be released to work with the sentence. It was written up in black and white agreement. I did 6 months behind the wall and 4 months on the streets. The appellate court simply said the man should have never been charged in the first place. But I did the time. So that's how I met Basheer, my wife, in prison. The mother and wife of the Muhammads. I'm almost finished, but I don't take too much longer. I ran the business room in prison. I was the only inmate in cash money. I worked the cash register on weekends. Busloads of family members would come to visit from Chicago. Drove down from St. Louis, Missouri to visit their cousin Richard. He was in the county with us in Upper Lip. Cousin looked good, and so did the Basheer. As they sat in the visiting room, I said, I sold beverages, sandwiches. They had to come to me to place their order, so I had to make a choice on which one I want. About Basheer's energy that stood out. So I chose to speak to her and check her mind out. I was able to get her phone number and address. She was 20 years old and I was 28. We got married 2 years, but I had to capture her attention first. So a week or so later, after I met her, I wrote her a letter. And I made up this story about how she came to me in my vision. Wearing a blue dress. It was a dramatic and charming story. I never got a response. I wrote another letter, no response. Asking her why she hadn't responded. This one she received due to the fact she happened to be home when the mail arrived. She wrote me back and said she hadn't received my letters. And Mother Miss Moore had intercepted the letters by since they were addressed from Menard Penitentiary, but Miss Moore had kept the letters I sent, and Basheer eventually got to read them. We started to correspond on a regular basis. For about 3 months, I got transferred to work north, which is directly across the river from St. Louis, Missouri. While I was in East St. Louis work release, I had received a weekend pass to leave on Friday and return on Monday. So I had to make a decision. These beautiful women I wanted to go see. I chose Basheer. She lived in the county in Pineland, Missouri. She picked me up. I went to her home. That's how it all began. I never saw Janine again. We got married 2 years later at City Hall in St. Louis, Missouri, about 4 years old at the time. I'm going to come back to that part of the family building part. That's another story. Oh, by itself. I was visiting my mother sitting around in the living room with the old man, with her old man, just talking. I happened to look out the window and saw a car pull up. It was 4 deep. One of the men that was sent in by the government to get us to take. One of the men that was sent in by the government about the car. He was strapped. My mother at back. I walked outside to the car, and mind you, I wasn't strapped. Downtown with weapons, like they could, particularly in the daytime. This was about letting them know I wasn't strapped. I approached them asking what they want, and they keep moving. Now with my hands in my pack. When the sun went down, we rolled down on them. Where they recited. One got hit. On another occasion, a house. One night across the street, in the parking lot, I saw it. I went out my back door. They were 4 deep. I knew all of them from the same town. Went to school with most of them. My mother was friends with parents. They had went fishing together, hung out together on occasion, etc. I could have killed all of them on the spot and got with it. I had them dead to right. You could see the fear jump into their eyes. I let them off. I let off 2 quick bursts of rounds into the air. They damn near tore the car up. Jumping the curves, speeding away. I let them live based on the fact I would have called a lot of others as well, even though they were paid to take my life. I know they weren't true killers. About them coming back. Real killers, you have to take them out. Some of them are alive to this day and have bad witness to my son Samai of my mercy and all the good in the Mississippi River where they had the great Lincoln Douglas debate. When we stood up against a whole system, they have a black mayor, a black fire chief, but no black police officers. Price with our freedom and our lives. Young men and women that you would never hear about. And rest in peace. You would never be forgotten. True soldiers. One thing about it, you have to be willing to die for what you believe in. We were just youngsters. But we were raised to stand for freedom, justice, and equality, and power. Now, back to the drug case after the release. Everybody and I went with me. I had family there. We got an apartment, stayed almost a year. Racine was a popping little town at that time. It was cold, plus it stayed cold too long. You had to have all four of the heat on in the house, including at night, bring it into the house, else your car wouldn't start the next day. And you damn near froze 32 below, sealed, wasn't our cup of tea. What cooked the cake with people running around, playing basketball in the park, green grass, birds singing, children playing outside, etc. Racine cold as hell, snow knee deep, and winter didn't break until August. So we moved back to St. Louis to the war. That's when I introduced Basheer to the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I was being evident that the minister was coming to town, Minister Farrakhan. Mind you, we didn't have any. The minister spoke at the University of Missouri, St. Louis, also. Once she heard the minister saying, I knew some Islam and had always supported the NOI and the FOI. And I wanted to have GT training. They made great mothers and wives and human beings. I her child, Aisha, and I asked her what impressed her most about the nation. It was something she had, highly organized, militant, disciplined. And when the minister spoke, acknowledged she had never heard before, but she knew deep down inside was the truth. She said she felt a little overwhelmed at first. And at this time is when the minister was putting the nation back together. This is the beginning of the Muhammad's family. At that point, and back to St. Louis one more time when Jesse Jackson ran for president to the Kiel Auditorium and spoke on his behalf. Highly organized black men in uniform, shining, sitting on front post on the square, not moving. We started to change our diet and discard bad habits. Let me step back for a minute to my childhood. This is something that sticks with me. After my grandmother had died, Mom had moved us to a house on the same street. Couple house over on Market Street. Now on in his house, Mom being young had took off again. Audrey was my big sister, and myself. Andrea was my big sister. She was epileptic. She would have sixth grade. So I had little brothers and sisters to look out for. Food would check on us every day after work. Before and after he got off work, having just lost his wife, his soulmate to cancer, which was my grandmother. But I got the job done. I knew how to cook. Sometimes she would fall on her face. We would roll her over and put a popsicle stick in her mouth when she convulsed, so she couldn't swallow her tongue or bite it. I was just a kid. I would bake cakes, make butter pound cakes from scratch. To this day, I can make a pound cake from scratch. Until one day my sister-in-law stopped by the house. checking on us. She was married to my big brother, Mo Pitt. He was away in college attending university on track scholarship. So I tightened that part up, especially when I started like. But we made it, y'all. I took care of my little brothers and sisters, and I was just a child myself. But I'm changing. It helped me make me into what I am today. And I never held anything against my mother or father. Moms came back after she got some of that run out of her. She loved to travel, but I always loved her. She taught us how to be dignified, strong, polite, courteous, respectful, how to clean and keep up, how to make something from nothing, how to read people, to stand up for oneself. I thank her for all those attributes. She was about pops. I never saw him again. But he was a dapper man and worked hard. I do remember one time while we lived in Chicago as a child, we stayed in a residential hotel. Pops would send me down to the butcher shop. I catch the elevator to go down to the butcher shop in the hotel. They would take my money, otherwise rob a little kid. I found out later he had a habit. He wasn't on heroin. I went down to the shop and came back empty-handed. Pop said, "What the food?" I said, "This with me." Sure enough, he got on the elevator and Pops was with me. This time, Pop, I never had that problem again. I never got to see Pop. I never got to see my grow up. I eventually got word when I was at Joe Black Muslim Bakery that Pops had showed up. Tyrone, but he didn't stay long. Mom ran him away, so he moved to Texarkana and got started, which I have never seen to this day. But lately I did make contact with him about they. I have spoken with them, but I lost contact. They called the Jones girls traveling, singing gospel music. I hear some are in Texas, the chance to meet them, their family, but this is life, moving right along. Growing up and all, old and young. It's like it isn't like generation, the younger generation had connections and a certain level of respect that would see something, they would see something in young people, take you under their wing and teach you about life. Some of their lives, by some of their life experience, show you work. A lot of elders had their own businesses. Willie Piggy, they were wineheads and men who had broken hearts because their wives had left them for the bottom to fight their loss. They still had a home, though, and kept their children with them. And they are now my ancestors. All praise due to Allah. We had good example to learn from, men and women. And black women were strong in them days. They took care of business serious. There is so much to appreciate about life. That's what shapes you. And you got to have a good heart. And understand, it's not about me, my, and I. We all on the death of my mother. And I'm going to wrap this up. I got some more, but I don't want to take you too long. Knew herbal medicine, knew how to go to the earth, pick herbs, and make medicine. She passed it all down to the force with her and showed her how to pick and to know the various herbs, where, how, what. In them days, you always saw black men and women in the woods and parks searching for herbs. My boy Master Cook kept an immaculate home, clean, orderly, taught hygiene, was well liked by the young people, and talk about anything, especially young girls, and get motherly advice. Rest your head and protection. She was a businesswoman and knew how to hustle. All the gangsters liked her and hustlers, highly intuitive. Outdoors, not to trust, love fishing, love going to the lakes, on the river to fish with her cane pole. Sometimes that's how we ate. Mom would go fishing for our meal, but we ate good. Never went home. She kept a pistol for clothes, loved dressing, would get on her fresh sheet, fresh towel, face towel, nice linen plants, nice gown, shoes, dresses, etc. And it. Stranger couldn't just roll up in our community in them days. Was no kidnapping, raping, murdering, maiming, wholesale in them. That's a short part of the book. I ain't even got started actually, but I wanted to give you a little bit on Popkeys and start telling this story on how we grow and develop as we go through life, and the decisions that we make sometimes in the early part of our life that affect you later on and will sustain you, help shape your character. And when I realized, black man, by heart, I'm not a killer. You kill only for a law. Those men I told you, that spirit of life, I think that's what sustains me today, because I had mercy. And I thought about fathers, spoke with their mothers and knew them. And I know these brothers do a job for the enemy. But this is life, black men, black folks. This is what shapes us, you understand, as we travel through life, you know. And I was always smarter than white things took place, white things happened, because always in my, what's the cause of this? Well, I've had a very, very, very good life, very adventurous. I studied my life course. We all have flaws that we learn to overcome. Been born 75, myself, not knowing. We look back on it. But you be like Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, you come through it. You keep that light shining. End of the day, you got to have a foundation to stand on. At the end of the day, we should all have that desire and want our own. We should throw out the desire of being accepted by an open enemy. We should learn how to support one another, work with one another, have patience with one another, protect one another, teach one another, dress it up, cover down with one another, continue to learn. And, you know, like I was telling Kalima, me and Kalima was having a deep conversation. You know, I'm good. And you say, and the way I know that's how you know you're good. When you continue to grow in life. Development, striving to grow back into one's natural state of being. Black folks, do good on the planet. Do good by yourself. Your head up. Stomach in, chest out, head up. Take your hand. This is our time now to rise and shine. Take over time. I've been a little bit too long tonight anyway. But what I wanted to say is this. And we'll wrap it up. In order for something new to come, something old must go. Let go of what it said, let go of what you know until now and pour in the new. Then things will look different. Black folks, let go of this old knowledge. That's why 19 keys. And this tour is so important, in my estimation. I haven't had a chance to really talk the time. I didn't get a chance to get with him. But what I wanted to tell him is this. We as black men, especially for the brothers that's on the square and striving to be upright, it seems like a lot of times you carry the weight of the world on your shoulder. But I want to tell him, man, enjoy yourself doing the works of Elijah. Understand what I'm saying? As his journey and how he's overcome and grown and developed himself. With people and networking with people, taken to a very high level. Everybody now using that high level conversation. Some got a stream conversation, which is good. Understand? Let's take over time, black man, black woman. It's our time, discouraged. Keep your head up. I deal with obstacles every day. But it's all right. This is the deal. This is life. Understand what I'm saying, black folks? The other day, you did, you carry on. Understand? All the way striving to build a mighty, mighty nation. Take over time, black folks. So I say, Muhammad, Muhammad, that's right. Run, devil, run. 2, 3. Yet another devil. Thank you for tuning in. Come together, form group operations. This is what we got. Our leaders that we have today telling them what the hell to do when we still on the treadmill. We running, but we still information. So I thank you. Y'all let me know how you like this reading. It'll be coming soon. But I just like to thank you, black people, for those that really out here trying to get their families on the right track, striving and maintain and stand with their families through all of the hardships, because we can't give up sisters. We just got to get our minds back right. You understand? We got to put that focus back on one another. So tonight, I'm gonna leave you with the divine greeting words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum. But y'all, he has going, cause it's gonna be good for you. The Lord walk by. Good night. Stay black, stay militant and military minded. So devil, when you think you're slipping up on us, be waiting on you. The Lord walk by. He's coming in now, buddy.